Welcome, everybody. I would love to be able to share my screen, but I don't see a way to do that, Mike. Under
Expert on
more.
that advice. I think it should be right down there in the center.
Oh, I see it. Yes, bright green. Okay. One moment.
That
See if you can
the
see
agenda.
this. Can you see the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
How about that? Can you read it?
we can paste it. Can you copy and paste it in the chat after you come back off of that? Or
Yes.
okay, so
Sure. Well, anyway, let's start it. We've already been gathering, so we're on schedule. I guess all we need to do is go with quick introductions. I'm Jan Falcona. I'm the events chair for this group and been in since 2017. I work in the solar industry, and you know about my car shopping interests. So I'm super excited to hear your thoughts on this, Eric. That's all about me. Jayashree, you wanted to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Jayashree Prasad. I'm co-chair of the chapter and also the treasurer and the book club, what should I call, chair. Over to Paula.
Hi, Paula Day, and I am I'm one of the I help with communications, and a member since, I don't know, 2019, I think. Sorry, and I've got house guests, so I'm cooking breakfast. So I'll pass it to Mike.
good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us and future YouTube watchers as well. My name is Mike Henkel, and I am co-chair along with Jayashree, and I've been a member for about 3.5 years now, I believe. Exciting things going on here in DFW and with the chapter. We're looking forward to continuing, I'll call it our rebuild. And I'll pass it over to Eric.
Well, thank you. I'm Eric Pratt. Would you like me to start the presentation or?
No, I'm sorry.
Just
I think, do we have an official intro for Eric, Jan, when we get to that, or?
Oh, shoot.
Then Eric, how
I'm
about
so
a
sorry.
brief
I don't
intro?
have anything prepared.
How about a brief intro now, and then we'll do the bigger one in a moment.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't need much intro. I'm Eric Pratt, a member of North Texas Renewable Energy Group and the North Texas Electric Auto Association. And I'm a retired mechanical engineer, worked in the aerospace industry for 32 years until the inevitable layoff. And since then, I've been a house husband and electrification advocate.
Fantastic.
I think that leaves Susie to say hi.
Oh, hi, I'm Susie Jerry. I'm the spouse to Eric Pratt, and I have been an EV adopter since we got our first Nissan Leaf, then a Chevrolet Bolt, and a Hyundai Ioniq 5. And we had a Prius before that, and I really appreciate the pickup that is with the electric vehicles and the quietness. So I'm a dedicated EV person. Glad to be here. Perfect.
Well, excellent. And I guess we need to go straight into our, I don't know, do we need to do the acknowledgement and rules since we all know
Sorry.
each other? Okay.
Do you want me to do them, or
would you mind, Mike? I don't have it in front of me.
I didn't put them up, but if you don't mind switching off your screen though while we're doing this and posting the agenda in the chat.
Okay. Stop the share. I can do that.
So climate reality, DFW chapter community ground rules are make space or take space. Generally hold your comments to 2 minutes when possible. Speak from the I perspective, practice active listening and seek to understand. assume good intentions, and respect one another's space, time, and interest. Be willing to be uncomfortable. Be open to productive discomfort. Disagree without discord. Personal attacks and labeling have no place in our chapter. Intent does not negate impact, except that there is no quick fix. And then our Indigenous land acknowledgement that we like to start our meeting with. It's available on our website. And we in the DFW areas are standing and living on land stolen from the Kickapoo, Wichita, and Tawakoni. Additionally, the Humanos and Comanche people who have been harmed, yet continue to thrive in the process of colonialization and white supremacy. I encourage all of us to go to native-land.ca and educate ourselves on these Native communities. I will put that in the chat in a moment as well. And then I just had some very brief opening remarks. I think Climate Reality DFW is in a rebuilding stage. We have over 400 members that I'm looking forward to engaging. We have a national team that is reinvigorating things at that level with regional organizers that have been really helpful in pushing forward, getting all our chapters to recognize their goals and update their goals, which we are in the process of. And one of those things is direct outreach to members. I think later on when we go over our chapter, our reports, basically, I'll go into this a little bit more in detail, but our 2025/2026 goals are just about complete. And the biggest one is direct outreach to our over 450 chapter members right now, to basically reinvigorate and try to get some activity in the DFW area. So I'm really excited that the goals sheet is almost finished. I'm bouncing it back and forth with national, and I'm ready to present to our executive team over the course of this month, and hopefully bring it to the chapter at next month's meeting. So with that, I think I can pass it back to Jan.
All righty, so let's get to the exciting part of our day. It's a presentation by Eric Pratt from North Texas Renewable Energy Group. He's going to talk to us about EV myths and fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and how to dispel all that. Take it away, Eric.
Very good. Does help to unmute. I guess my
Thank
slides
you.
are showing now.
Yes.
Looks good.
Okay. Yeah, as Susie had noted that she and I've been EV drivers since about 2016. Our first EV was a Nissan Leaf. At the time that we bought it, we had a Prius, not a plug-in hybrid, just a regular hybrid Prius. And you'll see in the EV world, they talk, years past, they used to talk about the two-car strategy. If you're a family with two cars, it was a way to get an EV into the mix more quickly was to have basically task-oriented vehicles. You had an EV that would be like an around-town car, and you had a long-distance car, which was either just an internal combustion engine car or a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid. And we had the mix of a Leaf and a Prius. And the Prius gave way to a 2017 Volt. I hear, Mike, you have one. We enjoyed ours quite a bit, but the chance came up to get a Bolt, which replaced our Leaf, but didn't have the long distance capability, and we wanted to go all electric. So in 2024, we got a nice deal on a 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 5, which is our long distance car. And although they have the same EPA range, I can go over what the differences are and why the Ioniq is better suited for a long distance car. But we're still keeping that two-car strategy in our cars in our household. And this is my contact information. If there are questions that come up after the presentation, I can, or after the meeting, I'm happy to try to answer them. Let's see. Uh-oh. There we go. Just some groundwork or kind of groundwork to what my definition of the EVs are. There are folks in the EV industry that say an EV is only a battery electric EV, but in the rest of the world, governmental and research organizations, they look at an EV as a car that has an external electrical socket to charge a fairly large battery. So like a Prius, which is just a hybrid, or the Priuses that are just hybrids are electrified, their only source of energy is gasoline. But in an EV, you have the external socket that can then be used to use the grid or your home solar array to charge a large battery, and thereby you have two power sources, the battery and also the gasoline in the car. So most of the time when you hear EV, people will be referring to both battery electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles. And this is a slide just to, I won't go over all the points on it because it'd take too long and have everybody asleep, but it's a cause of concern or confusion in the EV world was all the various connectors. And the main thing I wanted to point out is that there's kind of an heir apparent coming on the Tesla North American Charging Standard port, which is now an SAE J3400. And Society of Automotive Engineers, being engineers, we like to put numbers on everything. So J3400, you may hear that thrown around, or Tesla or NACS. And now that there's a standard for it, most of the vehicle suppliers in the United States and North America are gravitating toward that. So these are the myths or FUD. You've probably all heard them, and most of them are just outright false, but there is some truth in a few of them. And so I'll go over them in a little bit more detail. I call it the executive summary. The presentation is fairly long and in-depth, and to go through it all would probably take a couple of hours, which, since we don't have that today, I'll go over these briefly, and then whatever items you find most interesting, I can go over those in more detail. But you always hear that there are not enough minerals available, and that there's these sub-requirements or sub-issues related to minerals. You hear that the EVs are too dirty, and then these sub-categories, the EVs are going to destroy the grid, they'll always be too costly, they're always catching fire. And the one that came up recently was that I heard a fellow saying in a conference that they are too heavy for the roads and they're going to destroy all of our parking structures. So to go through those in a little bit more detail, looking at the not enough minerals, kind of the one subcategory is that there's just going to be too much mining and not enough minerals on Earth to support having EVs for all vehicle usages. Actually, in the studies I've seen, and I have some and background information here, is that the total mining will be reduced significantly, and bulk shipping will be reduced, bulk rail will be reduced, because bulk shipping and bulk rail, a major percentage of their income comes from moving fossil fuels around. So there's a disincentive for many companies other than just the fossil fuel industry to lose that source of revenue. There are sufficient materials available, and with more research, we're finding there are a lot more materials that we can use that are less expensive and not as hard to find. So this is more of an issue for the market to work out, and sources are being developed all the time. This is one thing that comes up a lot now in a lot of the European and information I'm hearing from other countries, is that the idea that now it's been shown that with renewable energy and other techniques are like electrification of all your energy sources, it's possible to get off fossil fuels. You can displace them. And in years past, fossil fuels were basically something that you had to find an ally that had it, or buy it on the open market and be subject to the whims of potentially less than fair players. So there's kind of a new term for ESG in foreign policy circles, it's called economics, security, and geopolitics. And many countries that don't have fossil fuel resources are going for this security portion where they're trying to get off fossil fuels as quickly as they can to get rid of the cudgel that other countries can have over them. And you'll see the myth that electric vehicles require unethical and child labor. And there's a portion that is true. There's a portion that's false. It doesn't require it, but there is one material that's been commonly used, although it's not as much in favor anymore, is cobalt, which comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And in a portion of their mines, they're called artisanal mines, artisanal small-scale mines, there are people using child labor. But it's not an issue of the technology, it's an issue of unregulated capitalism. And other cobalt sources available, and they're being developed. And also cobalt is being worked out of the battery chemistry because it's too expensive. And this is some of the background information that we can go through if interested. The next subcategory in the not enough minerals myth is that there's no recycling possible. And I've heard that the Earth is going to be overrun with massive battery waste in our landfills. And there are two elements to this. There's two assumptions that there's no recycling, and also an assumption that there's a high battery failure rate. And it turns out that EV batteries are lasting quite a bit longer than initially expected. There have been cases like the original Leafs that they were trying to minimize the cost of their battery configuration, and they had a little more rapid battery degradation than was acceptable in the market. But that was more of an outlier than an indicator of what the battery's capability is. And there are multiple options for EV batteries. They're a valuable asset once they've been built. Once they've lost some of their capability for use in an EV, they can either be refurbished and used in the secondary market for EVs, or they can even find a second life as stationary storage for grid power. And there are folks who take an old EV battery and run their house with it, and now there are companies, and they're coming to Texas, they're out in California, that are building grid level battery storage to support the renewable energy industry by accepting all that nice clean electricity. And recycling is possible, is already in process, and with many countries and many companies developing the process. The issue has been that there just haven't been enough waste, EV waste, to make it viable to scale up economically. So the other issue has been that the new material mining has been cheap enough that the value of recycling hasn't really found its place yet. So both of these, if recycling and mining, are going to be market-related issues. And this is some of the background information. I put this slide together. I won't go through all of it, but I just wanted to point out you have your EV with its new battery. They will lose capacity over time, but there are new technologies that are being developed and brought up to scale that will reduce the rate at which they lose power. But they don't lose power so quickly that they can't be usable. And it turns out that there's a personal, economic, and behavioral choice that's kind of not muddying, but changing how all the people that are doing their models see EVs and EV batteries. Because if your battery loses some of its capability, it's not like the car is unusable. It just means it has to be charged more often. And that's a personal choice, depending on your usage profile. How often do you really want to charge it? If you have charging infrastructure close, you may charge it on a regular basis. So that's kind of a big question mark as to how degraded a battery will be before anybody gets rid of it. And then there's this whole secondary market that the batteries can go into, where the batteries can be either refurbished, they can go into a second life, or it can be recycled. The next major myth was that EVs are dirtier than gas or diesel-powered cars. And overall it's false. There is a small bit of truth in that there was they often say that EVs require increased manufacturing, which is true. They require increased manufacturing and embodied energy to build the battery and develop that energy storage system, but it doesn't require fossil fuels. And as the grid is getting cleaner and manufacturing techniques are improving, the amount of embodied energy, the differential between embodied energy from a internal combustion engine and a battery is getting smaller and smaller. And as the grid gets cleaner, that the kind of penalty time that you have to be running clean gets shorter. And then another way that they put that myth is that the electricity grid is dirty and coal powered, so we might as well use fossil fuels for vehicles. And this is just completely false. You can look at it two different ways. You could say, well, what if the grid is completely coal powered, which at one time it was predominantly coal powered. And there is a great study that I have the chart from the Yale Climate Connections did a very good study about the different fuel sources for transportation. And they looked at gasoline, diesel, coal, renewables, and they found that even if the grid were completely coal-fired, that the coal-fired energy liberation and electricity production is actually more efficient than what you get with gasoline burned in situ in an internal combustion engine. And the end use is so much more efficient that actually a fully coal-fired grid would be cleaner than internal combustion engines. And the other way you can look at that myth is that the grid is not coal-fired. In fact, it's getting cleaner all the time as renewable energy sources are becoming the cheapest and easiest to deploy of all the energy generation techniques. And this is a myth that popped up just probably a couple years ago. There was all of a sudden a article in the headline saying that EVs are 1,850 times dirtier than internal combustion engine vehicles for particulate pollution because of tire wear. And it's completely false. It was a misreported result from a research paper that was done comparing the particulate pollution coming out of the exhaust of an internal combustion engine car versus its tire wear. But it was also it was European standards for everything, so it had nothing to do with EVs. So it was misreported, and I don't know the intent of the misreporting, but I'm a little skeptical that it was really genuine in their way of purporting it. And this is a slide from that Yale Climate Connections. If you can read through that, it's really a neat article and well presented. Had some great graphics. Here she was showing how the author is a lady named Karen Kirk, and she was looking at using the gasoline as a baseline, and she looked at the energy use of just using coal for a completely fossil fuel electricity generation, and you still came up with a 29% energy reduction, even if you had a coal-fired plant versus just a gasoline-powered car. And then as you use natural gas, it gets a little cleaner. I don't think she takes into account emissions outside of the use, but I'm not sure. I forgot to check that. But then she looks at hydro, wind, and solar and how much cleaner they are. And these are some slides, background slides. Oh, one thing I was going to say that came up from our meeting on Saturday, we had a very interesting meeting with a fellow from the Advanced Power Alliance, gentleman named Judd Messer, and he was saying one of the ways that they're reframing their description is they're not saying there's a energy transition anymore. They're saying there's an energy expansion. And this is a slide from ERCOT that basically shows that. You can see the amount of energy that we get from here's natural gas, then coal, then nuclear, and all those have been staying basically flat for the last let's see, this was a 16-year period, but wind and solar are now taking on as our energy use is increasing, our electrical energy use is increasing. And wind and solar are basically the expansion. So it's we're hoping to use that as a way to keep from setting off people's alarms before we even get a word in edgewise. And this is some background information. Oh, this is on the how clean the grid is in the local area versus what a gas-powered car would be. And the third myth is that EVs will destroy the grid. And I say it's possible, but it's not likely because the grid is just an energy balance. And the balance is made by a balancing authority. And in Texas, that's mostly ERCOT. And we can actually destroy the grid now if we wanted to. You've probably seen in years past where they say, please turn up your air conditioning a little bit. We can kill the grid if we want by just turning our ACs down to 60 degrees on a 100-degree Fahrenheit day. And ERCOT will probably start having to go into rolling blackouts. It's not as easy as it was before, now that we have renewables online, because they generate power so well during the hottest parts of the day. But with an EV charging, the generation issue is more a scheduling issue. There's a great amount of overcapacity now. If you look at overcapacity in terms of how much we're using on a regular basis, I say down here that the grid capacity utilization is not near full capacity. Let me run down a slide here. You can see here is a slide that ERCOT puts out on a regular basis showing 6 days ahead. And you can see in these periods, we have far more capacity available than we really need. The only problems, especially in the summer, are these points where the two curves get closest. And those are the times when the grid is stressed and you don't want to charge your EV then. So if we don't all charge our EVs there, then we have the ability to charge EVs with the grid that we have right now. And the last myths are the EVs will always cost too much. They aren't economical. And that's false. The prices are dropping rapidly as supply chains are being developed and as the manufacturers are going through an optimization process to better manufacture them. In China, which is now the leader in both renewable energy and electric vehicles, they're selling an EV for less than $15,000. I keep seeing it go from 15 to 12 to 10, but they have developed the capacity to build these things well. And it's not a car that would be really appropriate for the US consumers. Although, Jan, from what you were describing, it might be perfect for you, but we can't get it in the United States yet. But it's an indicator of things to come. You always hear that EVs are always catching fire, and this is false. Thermal runaway is an issue in a battery if it occurs. Our Bolt was under a battery recall because of a chance for thermal runaway. There was an issue with manufacturing. There was an assembly procedure where two items got out of sync with each other. Well, I won't go into the details of it because you have to know the construction of a battery more detailed. But it was basically an issue that they had to control their construction better. But the way that they gave us the ability to drive our cars while we were waiting for a new battery was they just told us only charge it to 80%, which is inconvenient. But like I pointed out in the other slide about the evolution of batteries through the marketplace, 80% is still a usable range. So we were able to use the car fine. The only problem we had with it was when we tried to go on a long distance trip and we had to charge more. So it was an annoyance, but it wasn't the end of the world. And EVs are statistically less likely to catch fire than internal combustion engine vehicles. You can find statistics of all types saying that they're 1/60th or 1/20th. I've seen things saying they're 30% less likely. So it's hard to find a definitive source. And I've seen presentations questioning the 1/20th number, but they aren't burning up on a regular basis. And it's true that with all stored energy, we have to be careful. All of our stored energy, basically all of our modern life, as a matter of energy usage and energy storage, and the risks have to be managed. And this last myth that came up was that EVs are too heavy for roads and parking structures. And I heard this at a conference. I was just shocked. I was like, how are you getting this idea? Because he was saying that all of our parking structures are going to collapse under the weight of EVs. So looking into the matter a little more, the EVs are a little heavier. They're about 20 to 30% heavier in the class, the usage class. So like SUVs versus compacts. But our non-commercial driver's license allows us to drive a car up to 26,000 pounds. The huge Hummer EV, you may have seen those things. They are enormous and they are very heavy. They weigh in at 9,000 pounds, but the original internal combustion engine Hummer was 8,000 pounds. So our smaller and somewhat heavier compact and mid-sized cars are not going to destroy our roads or bring down our parking structures. And this is some of the detailed information going through more of that. This is about the supply chain, and you can see from all the red there, red is China. They are dominating the supply chains right now, and that's one of the things that has to be developed outside of China. And some data about fires, and a little information about how batteries are constructed and why they're an issue if you're trying to put out a battery fire, and a source for information about how battery fires are being investigated in Sweden. They've been doing a lot of good work to investigate them because they have a high percentage of EVs and battery usage in the nation. So they've been doing a lot of good research and balanced research. It's not they're trying to figure out how to make it work as opposed to how to destroy it in the eyes of non-believers. And then information about the weight of EVs. And that's a summary slide. So the barriers to EV adoption are basically the misinformation and the charging infrastructure. That has to all kind of improve, and it is improving. And even recently, the efforts of the federal government to stop some of the federal monies being distributed has been, the courts have said they can't stop doing that. So the monies are going to start flowing again to some of the infrastructure development that was started in the previous administration. And time of use and retail electric provider basically incentives for charging EVs at the right time need to get more fully developed and become more economically viable. And like I pointed out in the beginning, the EV connector standardization needs to be come to a fruition so that there isn't, like we only have one gas nozzle for all of our gasoline powered cars and the diesel nozzle is different. We need to have a standardized connector so that everybody knows that when they come up to a charging station, they have the standard connector and they can charge up. And so that's the kind of the executive overview. Is there anything else any questions I can answer, or any of those that you would like me to go into more detail?
Eric, I was interested about the studies in Sweden, and I just wondered if there are any other European or international companies we should be watching that might start selling EVs here. Are you kind of keeping an eye on that?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens when now that the incentives have been taken away, because the incentives were kind of skewing the market. I mean, the intent of the incentives was to get EV manufacturing back in the United States. And so that there was a couple of years of that actually having some good results. Companies were kind of going through the process. And although the present administration thinks you can do that on day one, they don't understand what it takes to manufacture something. And it takes basically years to develop the infrastructure. And China's been working on it for 20 years. That's why they're so good right now. So it's going to take time to make it happen. But without the incentives, the American market, the American manufacturers are going to have to start competing better. They're going to have to become better at competing and put out better and smaller products. And there is the Europeans are trying to develop the markets, but the Europeans are having trouble with competing because of energy. Their energy costs are so high in Europe right now, partially because of the cost of our LNG, that they're having trouble competing financially. So they're trying to get off fossil fuels as quickly as they can to reestablish their ability to compete globally from a manufacturing standpoint. So it's it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Since it's a market, there you can change one thing and it will have a somewhat predictable effect, but it may not have the catastrophic effect that we're thinking it will. Oh, Paula, you had a question?
Yeah, I did. This wasn't it's not a myth, it's more of a information for future purchases. So I have a Bolt EUV, which I love. And we are probably in the market in the next year for a second car. And we were thinking of a plug-in hybrid because my husband's way less likely to pay attention to charging. So he probably needs some, he needs to have probably fuel as his primary source. So, but one of the things that attracted me to an EV was I'd heard the maintenance costs were lower. Obviously, you don't have to get oil changes and things like that. And it's like the mechanics are simpler. But what about like a hybrid? Like I read that maybe that could be more of a maintenance issue because it's neither fish nor fowl. It's like not in ice, but it has, electrification. So is it harder to repair, maintain, and such?
Yes, that is true. I mean, it's kind of convenient to have two power supplies, having the battery and also having the internal combustion engine. But it does mean more maintenance because although we had a Volt, similar same year that Mike has, and our Volt, it had the ability to tell you when it needed to have the oil changed. So it's not like you have to have the oil changed based on mileage. It's more the control system kept track of how long the engine was running, the gasoline engine would run. And if it didn't run, it didn't really tell you that you had used a lot of the oil's life. So we would go for a year or a year and a half, maybe 2 years even, without using the gas engine very much, and the oil change wouldn't be required. But it is still a more complex system. There are more things to fail. And unfortunately, in our Volt, we were lucky that we had gotten a extended warranty, because about a year after it had gotten out of the Chevrolet warranties, we had a series of very expensive failures, both electrical system failures and engine component failures. And that warranty paid for itself. So in getting a plug-in hybrid, I would try to go for a company that has a really known reliability record, like a Toyota or possibly a Honda. I was just looking through the Consumer Reports. Toyota has the highest reliability of all the EVs, or not EVs, all of the hybrid cars. They have a very well engineered and manufactured hybrid system. So if you can find a plug-in hybrid from a Toyota, I would be very supportive of that, because I think they have the best record of reliability. For others, they're like Hyundai. I haven't had that much experience with the Hyundai plug-in hybrids. I expect they're relatively good, but I don't have a lot of data for that. So if you can, you might get an extended warranty just to kind of protect yourself.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Sure.
Could I just follow up with that? I've been specifically looking at Toyota, and they have so few plug-ins available. I found hybrids almost exclusively when I was looking in the last couple of weeks, just FYI to Paula.
Yeah, I
But,
think that's it's funny, for some reason Toyota has not gone hard into the EV portion of it. I've heard great things about the RAV4 plug-in hybrid, but it's a big vehicle. It's not a small run around town type of thing. And I'm not sure the Prius plug-in hybrid is really cute. It looks like a spaceship racing by, but they aren't inexpensive. And I'm old enough, and Susie and I are old enough that we like a little taller car for getting in and out.
yeah,
Have you
good points.
Have you
Th-
found
there
any of
are-
those around, Jan?
I did find a Prius plug-in one. It was up in McKinney, Toyota. And I was it's really not very much. It's just a little bit more than the Corolla, which is what I've been mostly looking at. But I'm also considering Camrys. But again, these are all hybrids. The Camrys and Corollas, I'm not aware that have any plug-in options. It's just sadly lacking. But I'm with you about, they're so reliable, that brand. That's one of the reasons I was gravitating toward it. But I'm going to look back at the Chevy and the Honda now that you've said all these things.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You
Sorry
might
to
look at
interrupt
the,
there.
no, that's fine. You might look at the Equinox EV. It's bigger than the Bolt, but so it's going to be in the same size range as the Kona and the Niro EVs, but it has the newer battery system that Chevy has gone to, called their Ultium battery, which is, I haven't heard any of issues about them. And there have been some issues with like the GM Cadillacs. They had some troubles with software, various things like that. But that might be an option. I think has the $7,500 tax credit is available there.
Great, thank you so much. That's good to know.
Yeah, I was surprised. Last night I was watching the news. I had been working on the presentation a little bit, and I was watching the news and saw up on the news, guess what pops up? A battery fire in a garage. But they said it was a battery fire. It really wasn't. I don't think it was a battery fire. It sounds like the charging infrastructure, what they call the EVSE, that was on the wall, caught fire and caught the car on fire, because they said the owner jumped in the car and moved it out from the garage. I thought, if there's a battery fire going on, you're not diving in the car to move it out of the garage. So, but the thing that was kind of sad was hearing the interview of the firefighters, or the chief of the firefighting department. He really knew very little about how EV fires work and what to try to do to control them. And unfortunately, right now, one of the things they're trying to do is just let it sit and burn itself out and control around it, because it's the trouble with an EV battery is that it's made to be bulletproof to a certain extent. It has the batteries encased in a very durable case that if you just spray water on it, that doesn't get to the point where the fire is actually happening. So they always talk about having to pour tens of thousands of gallons of water on it. Well, that's because they're pouring tens of thousands of gallons of water on something that is not burning. The fire is actually happening inside the battery, and it's basically coming out through vents.
Well, there are batteries associated with anybody who has solar panels now. Lots of people buy batteries with their solar.
Right.
So those are in people's garages too.
They're typically a little different chemistry, but I think they're changing the codes now. They're a chemistry that is less likely to catch fire if there's a thermal runaway problem. But I think the codes are changing to try to have those put outside if they can. And from the Swedish rescue that I noted here was showing a house in Germany that they had a very large battery inside their house, and one of them did go into thermal runaway, and it blew off a portion of the house. So it is something to be considered, and we just have to take appropriate safety measures. And it's kind of like, let me go back to one slide here. You know, it's a matter of, you know, all these years we've always had these energy sources. First, it was fires, and houses were burning down because we didn't have the right way of protecting ourselves from the sparks. Then it was we were putting gasoline in containers that weren't safe, so garages were burning down. You know, houses are still blowing up because of natural gas leaking in houses. We'd have fires due to electricity, you know, not being managed properly, and our cell phones. They can have a thermal runaway issue, and but we've just gotten better at the manufacturing and the battery management system. So it's all a matter of risk management. You had a question, Mike?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to follow up on with more battery talk. So
Sure.
my Volt is a 2017, and when I got it, a full charge basically registered about 62 miles. Reality was running the AC or the heater or whatever, it'd probably be, I don't know, 15 to 20, even less than that. So it'd be like maybe I'd get 45 miles out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is still really good. And so now on a full charge, I have, let's see, about 42. We'll call it, I get 42 miles on the meter when it's fully charged. So it's already 20 less. I have one of the clerks at my pharmacy. I noticed an older Volt in the parking lot, and I was like, I'm gonna find out whose Volt this is always here. So it's got to be an employee. And I did, and hers only fully charges up to like 25 right now. And I want to say hers is, I think it was a 2012 or a 2013. I don't know. But so the best way to maintain your battery, because I think what I did, and it just, I guess I'm wondering if this is true. This is part one of the question, but let the battery run all the way down before charging, get it off the plug as fast as possible. Like, would that help preserve the battery life?
Actually, though, for a lithium-ion battery, that's kind of a common misconception about running it to zero. Running it to zero is actually not good for an EV battery. That was, I think, a hangover from the nickel cadmium batteries that were around for many years, where they talked about if you didn't run it down to zero, you would have a memory and it wouldn't have the same capacity. So they always said run the NiCads down to zero. But for nickel metal hydride batteries, which came along after, and for lithium ion batteries, you don't really want to take them to zero if you can. You want to keep a fair amount of charge in them. And going to 100%, it's better if you can to limit the state of charge to say 90, 80 or 90%. But in the Volt, I don't think you have that option of controlling how high it charges. So I would say just try not to run it down to zero if you can.
I can always unplug it early, actually, when I'm charging it. If I open the door, the screen lights up in a moment and tells me approximate time of when the charge will be complete, which is great. I just set my alarm on my phone. And then if I did leave it on the charge, would you know offhand if that it's fully charged, but I don't get to it. I forget about it, didn't set alarms like 2-3 hours later. Would that damage a battery?
No, that doesn't damage it. I mean, the things that lithium ion batteries, the times they don't like to be at 100% is when it's hot. So
Yeah.
if it's cooler and it's 100%, it's not a concern. And one reason you may want to leave it on the battery charger is I notice our Bolt does a lot of what's called battery maintenance. It will charge up. It's basically doing what they call a bulk charging. It's putting in a whole bunch of energy really quickly, and then it'll stop charging at that high rate, but it'll still be drawing like 100 or 150 watts or 200 watts, and it'll do that for some hours. And what I haven't gotten the folks at Chevy to tell me this is what it's doing, but my interpretation is that it's going around and making sure that all the battery cells are balanced, because that's one of the things that can cause a battery to either fail or start losing capacity, is when one cell is doing more work than another cell. So the battery management systems now go through and kind of do either module charging or cell charging, depending on how much control they have. And I'll notice that our Bolt will be pulling power for a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours, where it's just at a very low rate, like 150 watts, like, a power of a light bulb or something like that. So you may want to leave it on there, but if you can charge in the morning when it's cooler, then that will help maintain your battery.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I generally charge overnight, and
Oh, that's good.
my other question was, and I know we're coming up on time, but so I don't want to dominate this, but on the reuse of batteries, that secondary market that you
Mhm.
spoke of, is that something that, like, what can the consumer do? Or is that when they trade their car in, or if the dealer deems this car is, the battery's toast, or, how can I go about and then maybe use that as a storage battery down the road at my house? Um, any, can you expand on what you talked about earlier? Just,
Sure. And primarily it's going to be from like a secondary market where you sell your car, a dealer will look at it, and if they can't find a buyer that's content with that range capability, then it'll probably go to where it is either removed. And if it depends on the value of the battery for the car, if there's a market to refurbish the car or refurbish the battery, they may pull the battery out and change modules in it, see if there's some significant imbalance, they'll change that. But if it's not valuable enough from that standpoint, then they'll see it'll go into the secondary market.
yeah, I could
So
almost
it's
see like a major, like Chevy doing that. But if I were to trade it at some random used car dealership or something, and they're down the road, maybe it's an older vehicle they have, and they're like, oh, well, let's just junk it, and it goes to I mean, do they know? Like, there's no laws really in place, like, hey, we are going to do this. And then does the United States have enough facilities to handle that? I know I believe it was the Inflation Reduction Act, there was a huge influx of money I remember seeing battery manufacturing plants and a recycling plant. I don't remember what states. I feel like one was Tennessee and maybe Minnesota. But, while that money is gone now, but what's you have any knowledge on that? And then,
well, you're right about Chevy. I just saw an article the other day that Chevy is working with a company called Redwood Materials. You may have heard of Redwood. It's one of the founders of Tesla, left Tesla. I don't know what his motivation was to leave Tesla, but he started developing a recycling plant. And they have talked about the difficulty of getting the used batteries shipped to them for
okay.
recycling. That there's
Yeah.
a whole kind of infrastructure that has to be developed there. I can't remember. I think there was some legislation recently in Texas about how to manage that batteries have to not be just dumped.
That's my sense that the states are, I mean, other than California, probably are really behind in terms of what to do. It's like here we have a voluntary recycling program all over the country that we have a hard enough time getting people to get their aluminum cans in properly
Yes.
clean. And now we have conscious consumers with these huge batteries in their cars that needs to be important to keep that market, the recycling and reuse side of things active. So anyway, thank you.
And that is an issue, and that's what Chevy has partnered with Redwood to take their EV batteries that are either need to be recycled or they don't want to refurbish, but could be also used for grid storage, and they're I think, I don't remember if I have the article here in this presentation. I added some articles about that recently because it was so interesting to see. There is also a company called B2U, the letters B with the number 2 and then U. They came out of California, and they were taking leaf batteries and building grid scale storage there.
There it is.
Oh yeah, here's there's this utility dive. GM and Redwood Materials signed a deal to deploy energy storage batteries. So they're doing Second Life with the GM batteries. But it's I mean, if you're a very expert do-it-yourselfer, you probably could take it out. There are folks who've done it, but I don't have the knowledge or that capability, and I'd rather not burn my house down with a bad, wiring job.
A whole new engineering field, I think.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there are folks that have done it. There's a fellow on YouTube who's been doing all kinds of things with EV batteries, and they're taking Teslas and pulling them apart and putting them in Land Rovers, and it's amazing what people can do when they have the expertise.
Well, this has been so fascinating, but we're kind of over time. I hate to cut it off, but we probably should let Jayashree talk and get through the rest of our agenda.
Thank you very much for listening.
Oh, Eric, this is just a pleasure. And it's so interesting for everybody. And, a lot more people will see this recording. So it's definitely has been valuable time you spent with us. We so appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Come back anytime.
Oh, we will.
And could you supply us your PowerPoint to
Yes.
anybody else?
Would you like it as a PowerPoint or as a PDF?
Oh, the PDF, yes.
Yep, I'll send you a PDF, and if anybody likes it, I'm happy to send it out. It's all publicly available information.
Fantastic. So helpful. And you're in North Texas Renewable Energy Group, NTREG.
Yes. Yeah, although they haven't vetted that presentation, although they've all seen it, but I don't put the NTREG message or NTREG markers on it because they haven't had the chance to say yes, no, we agree with all of this.
I understand.
So that's why I put it as an owner's use or an owner's perspective.
Yeah, it's great. It's really, really helpful. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Y'all feel free to stay on and hear the rest of our exciting updates.
Sure.
We should probably let Paul. Jayashree is up, right? Jayashree?
Yeah. Hi everyone. So besides doing whatever I do, I'm also interested in reading books. Initially, it helped me understand all the the background of why the climate thing came up and how it is being handled all over the world. So I found it very exciting. And so we started a book club, and we got a lot of information from these books by reading different kinds book of the basic, like how it started, what's going on in the world, how the whole world is connected about this, the petroleum, how they even topple governments, it's all that. And so I found it fascinating, just like mystery. And so I delved deeper and restarted the book club actually. Roger Hughes, to be our first president, was into it too. So they had started, but it died down after some time because people dropped out. But we started again 2018 again. And since then nobody is willing to take up the chairmanship. So every time we vote on some books that people find, they suggest, and we all vote, and we decide. We have quarterly book club meetings. We decide on a book, and we have 3 months to read it. And whoever suggests that book is requested to conduct the meeting with whatever in-depth questions or discussion. So that's what we have been so just like our membership dwindling, we also find book club attendance has been dwindling a lot. So we've been trying to do in person. Last time we had in person, only 3 people showed up. Next one is scheduled for October 25th, which is a Saturday. And I changed the timing from earlier we had done 11 to 12 so that people have enough time to wake up, get ready and come, have their lunch and discuss the book. And the 3 books option is to vote on it. I hope people will vote and will decide on one of the 3 books, which I have put in the chat. I've also given the link to Goodread, reviews and author's detail and all that. So that's the plan for October. It's a Saturday, 25th. Anyone interested, we are welcome. And earlier we would make sure that people read it and come, but now we've thrown it open that even if you have not read it, come and take part in the discussion. Maybe from the discussion you will learn something. So everyone is welcome. Again, those are the 3 books. And it's going to be on 25th of October. The place has not been decided. Depending on the people, I might just book rooms in the Plano Library, or we have to go to a restaurant or something. So that's my update on the book club. And Eric, I found your presentation extremely helpful, especially regarding all the news that you hear, the negative news that there was fire, there was this is too heavy for the roads and blah, blah. So that helped a lot. And I am thinking, I don't know if I will, also of going into EV, but like I'm retired, so I don't know if I can be able to afford. Most of the people from India, they prefer Tesla simply because it has a big, show off value, I guess. But I'm trying to see what I can afford. So I will also take your research and do some more and see what works for me. But thank you for a great presentation.
All right, thank you. I don't know that we have anything else today unless Mike has something else for the agenda.
You know, I do.
Go for it, Mike.
Okay, so I mentioned in my opening comments that the 2025 chapter goals are in progress. Chip, our executive member at large, has been helping me with the verbiage, and we've been bouncing it back with our regional organizer up the chain in the national team. So just really briefly, I just want to cover because I'm hoping to present to the executive team over the next couple of weeks. We can agree on a meeting time and get everybody there. Vote on this, look at it, refurbish it, and get it out to the membership. So I don't want to go over everything because that's when we'll be doing that hopefully next month. But just very briefly on our goals sheet, we have chapter membership and activism, rejuvenate and rebuild. Have the next one, the category is defund as many elements of the defend. They have been defunded. Defend as many elements of the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act. So we know it took a big hit under the current administration, and we are prepping a response, which will be ongoing most likely. Slowing fossil fuel use and expansion is another category. Climate finance. This part of these are always in line with our national goals. So it's like, what can we do at the chapter level to influence decisions from financial institutions? So climate finance, nature-based solutions, which is basically promoting climate smart agriculture practices through education and advocacy. We just got a couple more. Education from our chapter out into the community, basically in the form of presentations like the one we had today, or Al Gore's slide deck, for example. Really educate and keep that message of how important our climate activism is out into the community, whether it's your elected officials and other stakeholders, or just at the individual level, because change happens one person at a time, and we know we have a long road here. So I just wanted to touch on the goals there, just the categories. And then from, hold on one second, from our emails, and I think most of our membership receives this, and if Eric and Susie, if you want to get on our mailing list, let us know. You can drop me an email and we'll get you signed up to get the monthly newsletter. National sends out an email as well monthly with their updates. And so just a couple things I want to highlight. I dropped the chapter email in the chat. So whether now or in the future, YouTube, people watching, you can always send us an email and I can forward the information, or we can get you signed up to receive the emails yourself. So there is a climate finance training webinar on August 21st. So next week. And once again, in line, this is a national webinar, and it's in line with national goals, of course, then, and in line with what we hope to do at our local level. So there's a webinar on the 21st and a biweekly federal defense call. This has developed over the last 6 months, I believe. And I think the goal there is to learn about the next steps, the federal level, what we can do to build and help defend a clean energy future. So those are two big ones. The next one there is the 19th. So those are both next week. And if you need the link to register, please let me know, send an email. And that is it. I think there's, each email also has a take action. You can always log on to Climate Reality's main website, which I think Janet is in the agenda. You can mention that, but I think that's all I had for the moment. And I really enjoyed that discussion and presentation as well, Eric. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, really great information. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me.
And then Jan, I guess I can pass that back to you. I don't know if we want to, I mentioned we're at that point where we want to talk about our activism. I don't know if we want to go online and do that. What was your plan? We're way over time, I think, but
right. Well, I thought you were going to ask me to say something inspirational.
Say something inspirational, please.
We have this guy, this poet in our group who normally ends us with a very lovely, inspiring poem. I got nothing. I could maybe think of a limerick. I don't know. But yeah, no, I think it seems like everybody is very interested and excited about EVs. So I just think it's time to be evangelists for this. And, now I feel a little more armed with information. I'm going to definitely, work on trying to find something I can also afford, and, the right size and all that.
Well, and even just getting an electrified vehicle, just a hybrid, is a great option, because it means that it has a battery in it, which is, influencing battery. It has the electronics in it. So it's pushing and it's reducing the fossil fuel use. And so Susie and I keep saying, vote with your dollars. We've got to, we're a capitalist society, and unfortunately the capitalists with all the money in the fossil fuel realm are controlling things now. So,
well, that's what I've told everybody. This is my main motivation is I don't want to give any more money to the fossil fuel companies. Yeah. That is number one. So let me ask your personal opinion. For me, would it make more sense for me to get a new hybrid lease, or to pay for a used EV? And pros and cons in both directions. And it's hard for me to decide because I haven't bought a new car in 25 years. I literally have had family. My sister sold me hers. I inherited my son's car, I haven't had to really do this. And so it's a grave decision for me. So help anybody.
Yeah, it's, that was hard for us when we moved back from New York, and I'd had used cars for 20 years because I didn't want to put a brand new car out on the streets of New York. So I always had just beat up Toyotas, and they were incredibly reliable cars. But when we came back to Texas, we bought a new Prius and a new pickup truck, and that pickup truck's now almost 18 years old. And we've just been buying electric cars to try to drive, because we felt like if we buy one electric car and run it till the wheels fall off, we only get one vote. So we've scrimped other areas and been putting in more votes with electric cars, and we are kind of addicted to them. We like them so much. So I mean, that's a hard, I hate to try to make a decision for you, but it's kind of what your motivations are. I mean, if you buy a new or lease a new hybrid or plug-in hybrid, that's a great option. You're going to be, but one of the things you can do with the plug-in hybrid is if you have the ability to charge. When we sold our Volt, we had 40,000 miles on electricity and 10,000 miles on gas.
Wow, that's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, so it depends on how easy it is for you to charge and how often, you want to be charging. And
Yeah.
ours is still running around down in the Granbury area. I talked to the dealership and they said, oh yeah, we sold it a couple weeks later. It's driving around. We see the owner comes in and has the car washed every once in a while.
That's really encouraging. Well, thank you. This is all new territory, so the timing couldn't have been better for me. Well, wish me luck.
Oh yes, I mean, if you have questions about the cars that you're looking at, send them over. I may not have a direct answer, but I can try.
Thank you so much. It's great to just be able to bounce things around and some ideas with y'all. I appreciate it. All right. I've got an appointment in Arlington in an hour. I'm going to go out there. I know. I went to McKinney yesterday. I'm just there,
Wow.
if it's a good deal, it's worth it.
You need an EV if you're doing a lot.
That's
of
for sure. I'm
that
burning a
much.
lot of gas on this. Just the
Dan, if you
sales.
lease, you get a new car every 3 years. So I don't know.
Well, I know. Well, that's the
Oh.
thing. It's so non-committal. It kind of appeals to
I mean,
me.
affordability, I don't know what that means. But.
Oh, Jan, one thing, does your workplace have workplace charging at all?
No, but being a solar company, we've just finished putting our solar panels on the roof, and I think it will be coming. It's just not
wow.
yet. They are very, they're proactive, but it's also a small kind of startup, and I don't know how soon they would do it. I think it'd be a 25-mile round trip from my house to my office every day, and I do work 5 days a week up there. So I could get back to the house to charge.
Wow, that could be a plug-in hybrid. Yeah,
exactly. That's why I'm so leaning toward them. They're just, as I said, they're hard to find. It's a bump in price to get anything that's a plug-in hybrid. And yeah.
What company is it?
It's called Solark. S-O-L.
Oh, I know Solark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know Michael?
Yeah, we have their pens.
Yeah, we've got pens. We know Solark very well.
That's so great. Yeah.
Know lots of people who own their equipment, and Michael Fladmark is a salesman proponent for them. Yeah, we love Solark.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Well, it's a wonderful company and great group of people and local family owned, and I really think they're the best value from everything they've explained to us compared to the competitors. So I'm very excited about it, and I'm learning a lot. I'm surrounded by electrical engineers. I'm a technical writer. I'm a writer, so like liberal arts background, so I'm like the odd person out, but it's great.
Did you know Kenny, or have you met Kenny Echeverry? I can't pronounce his name right. Kenny Echeverry, something like that, or Echeverry?
Is it Kenneth? Does he go by Kenneth? I don't know.
I think he might go by Kenneth. Yeah,
I think so. Is he in the support team?
I think he is.
Yeah.
He was NTREG paid for him to have an internship.
What?
Helped him to have an internship with a local company, and then he slot opened up at Solark, and he was able to interview and get the job.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to talk to him about this. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, he's a really capable young man. He's an impressive fellow.
Yeah, we have some really smart people there. So yeah, it's keeping me busy. It's exhausting because, as I said, they're in building phase. They're a startup, so wish me luck. I'm hoping to stick around and, maybe they'll go public and, all the good stuff. So anyway,
Well,
thanks for asking. That's a really good point.
yeah, I hope
So-
to buy a solar product. Our house is not really well set up for solar. We have a convoluted roof on the south facing roof and a tree that shades it almost all day.
Ah.
So we're looking at putting in a shade structure in the backyard. The only thing is I can't find a company that I want to work with that can do the shade structure. But
Huh.
and also do the solar, and it's because most companies want to do just roof mount.
Interesting. I don't know much about it because we don't do the solar panels. We just do the inverters and batteries.
Right.
But we should talk because I just learned that I do get a friends and family discount. So maybe, talk to me. I need to find out what the restrictions are on that, but it sounded like a good deal. So
Oh,
this
thank you for
is-
the offer. That's
yeah,
great.
let me know. We'll talk. Well, I owe you so
Okay.
much for all your free advice so far.
That's right. Good luck
all
with your
right.
research.
It's fun. Thank you again. I'll report back. I will let you know.
Okay. We'd love to hear about it.
All
Thank you very
right.
much.
Well, such a good day. Thank you both for joining us and great to meet you. Susie, I've already sent an email asking you to be added to our mailing list.
Thank you.
So,
Okay.
yeah, you bet. All right, y'all. Thanks again.
Jan,
Thanks,
can you
all.
stay on for
Bye-bye.
a few minutes?
Yeah, I'll stay, Mike.
Okay, thanks, y'all.